guys, it's Alyssa. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So in today's video, I'm kind of excited. Actually, I'm really excited. I love prepping for Thanksgiving. So it's Tuesday, a few days before Thanksgiving, and I am going to get a handful of my side dishes ready to make my life easier on Thanksgiving. We have a ton of people coming over. Well, I would say about 15 people. So it's a good amount, all our family. And so we're really looking forward to having a full house. We do Thanksgiving every year. And I've learned to prep dishes in advance and get everything ready to go. So Thanksgiving, I can enjoy my time with my family. So I've learned over the years that most of these dishes can be made about 2 days in advance. I just put them in a refrigerator out in the garage. I cover them really well. And then the day of Thanksgiving, I take them out an hour or two before I need to pop them in the oven to kind of bring them down to room temperature so they don't take a ton of time to bake. And then I'll throw them in the oven for just a little while to heat them up for Thanksgiving dinner. So I have all of my recipes that I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to start with my sweet potato casserole. This is my favorite recipe. This is a recipe from my mom, and then now I've been making it. It's kind of like a dessert, and it's awesome. It has the streusel topping, the marshmallows that I put on top and put them in the broiler to get them all ooey and gooey. It's a delicious recipe. So I'm gonna get started on that, and then I'm also gonna be making my stuffing, which I don't stuff my bird with this. Well, sometimes I do. It just depends how I'm feeling. So I guess you would call it what, dressing. So I'm going to be making that, and then the day of Thanksgiving, I'm going to add in more chicken broth to give it more of the moisture because I like a little bit more of a wet stuffing before I pop it in the oven. But I'm going to get everything ready to go and mixed up now. And then I'm also going to be making my favorite mashed potato recipe. This actually is a recipe packet I got back in high school. Many years ago, and I did a cooking class, and we did a Thanksgiving feast, and I remember making the mashed potatoes, and they were awesome, and I've held on to this packet ever since, and I've been making these mashed potatoes every year since I've taken over Thanksgiving. They're awesome. They have sour cream, cream cheese, lots of butter. They're not healthy, but they're delicious. And then also, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it today. I think I'm going to do it tomorrow on Wednesday. I'm going to be prepping the rolls. So I do turkey rolls. They're shaped as turkeys and they're so cute. I can't wait to share those with you. And then I'm also going to be doing a pumpkin harvest pie, which I made a video of some of the best fall treats. Posted that a little while ago, so I'll share that up above with the recipe for that. But I'm going to do that tomorrow because I want my rolls to be pretty fresh, and my pie and my rolls the day of, I'm just going to pop them in the microwave, so I want those pretty fresh and not sitting around. So right now I have my sweet potatoes in the sink. I just rinsed them off. I'm gonna pierce these with a fork. Let me go grab that. And then I'm also going to, let's see, my recipe says I need to preheat my oven to 400. So the way my mom did this, now I'm doing it how I cook my sweet potatoes before I mash them. I like to rinse them off because I'm piercing them with a fork so they get clean because these are pretty dirty. I'm going to pierce them with a fork all around. Then I just loosely line some baking sheets and I put the sweet potatoes on that, and I put them in the oven for about an hour or so. It's not too strict on the time. You just want these cooked enough where they're kind of oozing out of the holes that you've pierced. And you can kind of see the skin pulling away from the inside of the sweet potato. And so they'll cook for about an hour, and then I take them out, I let them sit off on the side and let them cool completely, and then they're so easy to peel, and I just put them in a large bowl and mash them up. So I'm just gonna get these all pierced and get this into my oven, and then I'm gonna get started on my stuffing. So I have bacon and sausage that I like to put in my stuffing. So I gotta get those cooked up before I can even start making everything else for it. So I'm gonna get that going once I'm done with this. Okay, so I just got all those pierced. I'm gonna get this in my oven. It's still finishing up preheating, but that's okay. I'm gonna get these in, and they're gonna cook for about an hour, like I said. Okay, so I was just looking over my notes. So I kind of just made note of everything I'm gonna be making for Thanksgiving and when I need to prep it. So we're doing turkey, but we're going to be smoking it. My husband's going to take care of that, which is a huge help for me. We've done it the last couple years and it comes out so good. He's actually gonna brine it tonight, which is Tuesday. He's gonna let it sit for about 24 hours. Then he's gonna actually take it out and then let it sit in the fridge to dry out a little bit for about 24 hours. We're gonna try it this new way because the last couple years he's made it. It comes out really good, but we just can't get the skin crispy enough. So we're thinking if we brine it, it'll help tenderize the turkey, but then letting it sit and dry out in the fridge for a while will help bring out a little bit of that moisture for the skin to crisp up. Let me know if you've ever done smoked turkey and you've been able to get the skin crispy and you have a secret for it, because we would love to know that, and share it down below for me, please. And then I'm also gonna be doing ham. I've done ham before, but I've never done it in the crock pot, and I think I'm gonna try that this year. So I've looked it up quite a bit. I guess it's pretty popular people to cook their ham in their crock pot so it frees up the oven space. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna do that on Thursday, of course. And then so today we're gonna be doing the sweet potatoes, which you just saw get started, and I got those in the oven. We're gonna do the stuffing and we're gonna do the mashed potatoes. And then tomorrow we're gonna be doing the pumpkin harvest pie and the turkey rolls. My mother-in-law is bringing the green bean casserole, and then my sister-in-law is gonna bring cranberry sauce, and then my sister's gonna bring salad. And then for appetizers, I always like to do appetizers because we have everybody come over around 2 or 2:30, and then we don't have dinner until like 4:30ish, so everybody has, you know, something to munch on while we're working away and also mingling. So I'm gonna do a pumpkin cheese ball. I've made this before. I'm actually gonna try a little bit of a different recipe, but I've made a carrot cheese ball for Easter. I put that in a video that I did. I can share that above. And so I've done the pumpkin cheese ball last year. It comes out super cute, but I'm gonna try a little bit of a different recipe because I wanted to add a little bit more flavor to it. So I'm gonna try and do that today. If I don't have time, I'll do it tomorrow on Wednesday. I also wanna prep my spinach dip. The spinach dip is awesome. And then I just serve it with some tortilla chips. I got those leaf shaped ones from Trader Joe's, and it goes so cute for Thanksgiving. So I wanna try and get that done today. If I can't, I'll do that as tomorrow as well. And then I'm also going to do a toasted Gruyere and cranberry cups. I've made these before in the past. I just haven't done it in a few years. So I wanted to try and do these if I have time, but these will be made on Thursday. So they're fresh and ready to go, but they're pretty easy. I got the phyllo cups from our local grocery store. And then I'm also going to do a truffle burrata toast. I'm gonna do that on Thursday, and then charcuterie board on Thursday as well. And then my mother-in-law is also bringing a chocolate cream pie. So that's everything, a ton of food. So let's get started on everything else. All right, so since I have my oven on and I have to also make the sausage for my stuffing, I'm going to cook my bacon in the oven so I can get that done quickly while I can do some other stuff and cook my sausage and whatnot. So I'm just gonna line, well, I did line a baking sheet with a bunch of layers of foil because I don't really want to get this too dirty. And then I'm going to just lay my bacon out on this, and my oven's already at 400, so I'm just gonna bake in there for 15 to 20 minutes and make it super easy. Okay, so I'm just cooking a country sausage. I just like a mild sausage with my stuffing. So I just get the country sausage for this. And so I'm just gonna cook this up, and when it's done, I'm also gonna save all of the drippings from my sausage and also my bacon, because I use that to caramelize my apples with, and then I also use it to saute my mushrooms as well that goes in my stuffing. So while my sausage is cooking up, I like to get it extra crispy, not burnt, but crispy, to go into the stuffing, because that's just how we like it. I'm gonna prep everything else that is going into the stuffing as well. So I'm gonna be caramelizing my apples. So I have 4 green apples here, and then I have the mushrooms I'm gonna be slicing up, and I'm also gonna dice up some onion. So this recipe that I'm using for the stuffing is kind of a spin-off of the Pioneer Woman stuffing. I printed this out years ago, her cornbread dressing with sausage and apples, but I've kind of changed it up to make it into what I want and what I know my family likes. And then I'm also cheating a little bit, so don't judge me, but I'm using this stuffing. I just get the regular one, I don't get the cornbread one. This is what my family likes. So I get a box of this to use for my bread, and then I put in bacon as well, because she doesn't put the bacon in her recipe. So you just want to cube up the apples into small, medium-ish size cubes, and make sure they're all pretty similar in size so they'll cook evenly when you caramelize these. Okay, so now I got my apples diced and my onions diced up as well. I'm going to be slicing these mushrooms. I just like to get the whole mushrooms and then slice them the size that I want. So I'm gonna get that going, and then these can all get cooked now that my sausage is done. Okay, so I finished cooking my sausage. I just removed it from the pan and I put it in a bowl off on the side. And without cleaning this pan, I'm gonna cook my diced onion, and then I'm gonna add in my apple and my mushrooms and cook it all in the same pan. I also drained off the bacon fat from my bacon that cooked, and I'm gonna use a little bit of that as well. So I'm just gonna start with my diced onion and let this brown for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I'm also gonna add in a little bit of my bacon fat to the onion. My sweet potatoes are done. So the way you'll know that they're done is you'll kind of see like the oozing on the foil. They're oozing out, and then you can pierce all the way through. So I'm just going to remove these from the oven, and I'm going to get these off on the side to cool completely. Okay, so my onions have been browning for about 4 or so minutes. I'm going to add in my apples now. So I did 4 apples. The recipe calls for about 5, but I don't want too many, so I just knocked it down to 4. Okay, so I kind of got this sauced up a little bit with the onion, and now I'm going to add in about 5 tablespoons of brown sugar. I don't really smash it down and make it super precise. I just scoop in about 5 scoops. And at this point, I'm going to drizzle in a little bit more of my bacon fat. I want to get these apples nice and caramelized. I'm also going to put in a pinch of salt. And a little bit of pepper. So these are going to caramelize and brown for 3 or so minutes. Just keep an eye on them. You just want to soften them up, brown them, and get them kind of ooey and caramelized. Okay, so these have been cooking for a few minutes, and I'm going to now throw in my sliced mushrooms at this point. The recipe, the Pioneer Woman's recipe, she actually cooks hers in the oven, I believe. So separate from this, but I don't want any added extra work, and to me I feel like it can all be cooked together. So I'm going to throw in the mushrooms. I've done it prior years and it always turns out good. And then also at this point I'm going to be throwing in some minced garlic, just a couple spoonfuls. And then I'm just going to cook these down just for a few minutes until the mushrooms saute. I'm also going to add in some cooking sherry. Her recipe calls for white wine. I just use cooking sherry when I have to use some type of wine in my dish usually. I'm just gonna add a pinch of that and let that cook out while my mushrooms saute. And then I'm also making sure to season my mushrooms. I'm just adding in some salt and some pepper onto those mushrooms while I toss them into the rest of the ingredients. And then I'm also gonna just add in some Italian seasoning. So the recipe calls for rosemary and then thyme. I don't really care for rosemary, so if you wanna add that in, that's totally your preference. And I don't have thyme, so I'm just gonna throw in some Italian seasoning. I've done this before and it turns out just as good. Okay, that's looking good. So this is just gonna cook for a few more and then I'm gonna turn this off and let it cool for a few. Okay, so my sweet potatoes have been cooling and they should be good to go. They might be a little bit hot, but we'll find out. I wanna get them going so I can finish those off to get some other stuff done. I'm just gonna get my big bowl out. Okay. So the way that I do this is I just take a sweet potato and start peeling away. As it cools, the skin kind of lifts away from the sweet potato and it's really easy to peel. You just want to make sure they're not super hot. These are still kind of steaming, but I'm gonna see what I can get through before I'm like done because I get burnt. I really enjoy doing it this way versus like cooking them in a pot of water and slicing them up ahead of time because they caramelize as they cook in the oven like this and they're so good. It adds so much flavor to the sweet potato casserole. Plus it's so easy doing it this way versus peeling them all with like a hand peeler and then slicing them and boiling them in water and taking up space on your stovetop when you could do other stuff. You just pierce them, throw them in the oven and let them do their thing. So I think these were in the oven too for just over an hour. Really, I've done it where I'm like in the middle of something and I can't take them out just yet and they cook a little longer than I am like the hour that my mom says to cook them at. And they always come out still really good. Okay, so those are all done. I was able to peel them all without burning myself completely. So when I do my sweet potatoes, I like mashing them just with this guy right here, just a handheld masher. You can use like a handheld mixer. I know some people like to make their mashed potatoes that way, and I know some probably do it with their sweet potatoes. I don't like doing it that way because I like using this to leave a little bit of a chunkiness to my sweet potatoes for some like texture, but it's all in preference. So I'm just gonna use this handheld masher. I'm gonna mash these all up and then I'm gonna add in the rest of my stuff. Okay, so I'm going to be adding in first my half a stick of butter. So it's supposed to be softened butter, but I didn't take it out in time. So my trick to this when I don't take my butter out in time is I get it in first and then I put it underneath the hot sweet potato so it kind of melts it down and softens it up while I get everything else added in, so then it's easy to mash up. Next, I'm just gonna add in 2 eggs. And then next, I'm just gonna add in some maple syrup. I get just the, fake stuff, I guess you can call it. My mom's recipe says real maple syrup, but I don't have that on hand, so I'm just gonna use a couple tablespoons of this. And then a pinch of salt. About a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And then a 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. And then this part might be something some of you might not want to put in yours, but it adds a lot of flavor. It cooks the alcohol out, so you don't even really taste the bourbon. It just adds a really good flavor to this. So we put in just a cheap bourbon, and it's about 1/3 of a cup. Okay, so I got that all incorporated. Okay, so I've got my casserole dish. This is the biggest one I have. I always try to go with the deepest dish for this dish because one, I make a lot, and then two, I'm gonna be topping it with the streusel topping and the marshmallows. So you have to remember to give yourself that enough space when you're putting this in whatever dish you're gonna be using. So you will have room for everything. Make sure to get every last bit of that yummy goodness. So I'm going to be doing the streusel topping. Sometimes I put it on top and then sometimes I just keep it on the side. I think I'm just gonna keep it on the side, put it in a little Tupperware, and then top it on to the dish when I go to cook it off on Thanksgiving. Yeah, see how much that filled that dish? So I'm gonna be cutting it pretty close, but I think it should be okay. I've also done it where I've had so much of this that I've done 2 dishes, and then I sometimes don't even bake off the second one on Thanksgiving because the first one's plenty, and then the side, the extra that I have is just then leftovers for us, which works out nicely. So now I'm just gonna get this covered and into my fridge, and now this is ready to go for Thanksgiving. That's 1 dish down. Okay, so now that I got the sweet potato casserole done, I need to make my stuffing because everything is done and ready to go and cooled off. So I always like to clean up from whatever dish I just made. I like to clean everything up, get everything out of the way, and then get started onto the next dish. It just makes me function better, I guess. Okay, so I have a change of plans. I just cleaned up the kitchen, but I just started thinking before I get started on my stuffing, or finishing up my stuffing actually, I want to get my potatoes peeled and into a large pot of water and get those boiling on the stovetop, so then when I'm done with my stuffing, I can get going on my mashed potatoes. So I just got done peeling all of my potatoes. I actually added in like 3 more potatoes because I have more bags in my pantry. Just because I was thinking we probably want a little bit more, and some of these guys are so tiny. So I'm going to dice these all up, or actually cube them, and I'm going to get these into my large pot filled with water, and then I'm also going to add in some salt. So just like the sweet potatoes, I try to make sure to cut these pretty evenly in size, so that way they all cook evenly and we don't get ones that are like smaller and they cook a lot faster and get super gummy. So I just like to do medium to smallish size cubes and just keep them as even as possible. Okay, so before I forget, I'm taking out my cream cheese. I want to do at least one of my appetizers today. I don't know if I'm going to have time for all of them because we're getting close to dinner time, and I'm going to have to get that going. But I think I'm going to do the pumpkin cheese ball. So I'm going to get out 2 of these 8-ounce boxes of cream cheese and let those sit out and soften up while I finish up my potatoes. Okay, so I got those all diced up. I'm just gonna fill this large pot with water once I get these all in here, and then I do add in a generous amount of salt, and I'm gonna get them on my burner and get these cooking. Now that the potatoes are on the burner cooking, I'm just going to get the rest of my stuffing done. So this is the easy part. This is literally just tossing it all into my large bowl and mixing it all up. I'm gonna open up 1 can to start of chicken broth. I just wanna add some moisture to this, but not a ton, because the day of I'm also going to add in some more because I know it's going to dry up a little bit and soak up a lot of that moisture sitting in the fridge. So the day of, I'm just gonna add in a little bit more depending on how wet it still is. Sorry if you hear a ball bouncing in the background. I'm not sure if you do. My husband's out playing basketball with my 6-year-old right now while my other one naps. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this box opened. You can use your own dried breadcrumbs, but I always just use this because one, it's what my mom always used, and two, it's easy and it tastes just as good, I think, as drying out your own bread and making your own breadcrumbs. So I'm just gonna get this tossed into a bowl. So here is my sausage. Just make sure to get all of that yumminess in there. Now I'm gonna get in my mushrooms, onions, and apples. That's all very caramelized and so good. This smells awesome. I wish you guys could smell it. Get all of that. Don't want to miss anything. And then another awesome thing added to this, bacon. You can't go wrong. So I'm just gonna get, I just got it super crispy and then just broken up into smallish size pieces. I'm also going to add in some minced garlic, just a little bit, because I did add it into my mushrooms and apples and onions, but I want a little bit more garlic flavor. I'm gonna get that in. I'm going to add in a little bit of kosher salt, but not a lot because I did add it into my other mixture. And I'm gonna add in some pepper and then some chicken broth. Before, when I was younger, don't tell my mom, I wasn't a fan of stuffing very much. Maybe it was just, I guess, the one that she made, but it's what my mom and dad liked. But I just never was a huge fan of it. But once I put this one together, which is kind of a copycat off of Pioneer Women, but then changed up into my own little recipe, I love stuffing now. And this is also a huge hit with my entire family, even my kids. So this is all done. I'm just gonna get it into my dish. I do wanna add in more chicken broth, but I'm just gonna hold off and do it on Thanksgiving because I wanna add more moisture the day of. All right, so this is done and ready to go. That's another dish down, and now I just have to do my mashed potatoes. Okay, so my potatoes are done. I got those drained and into my large bowl here. I've lined up all of my ingredients. So everything I put into my Thanksgiving mashed potatoes is sour cream, cream cheese, butter, a little bit of, a little bit of milk, and then some salt and pepper. So I will mash this up. I use, like the sweet potatoes, just the handheld masher. I like a little bit of texture and thickness and kind of chunkiness to our mashed potatoes. So I don't use a mixer, but you definitely can if that's what you prefer. And then I don't mash it completely, and before I do, I add in my butter. So I'm gonna start with 8 ounces of cream cheese and then just a little more than a stick of butter. And once I get everything mixed up, I'll taste it and I may add more, it just depends. Okay, so I got the cream cheese and butter in there and that mashed up all pretty well. So now I'm gonna add in some sour cream. I'm gonna start with a half a cup or so, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/4 of a cup, and then add more if need be. Now I'm just gonna add in a couple tablespoons of milk. And then some salt and pepper. All right, so I just got a large dish. I'm gonna get this into my casserole dish. I just got a rubber spatula so I can get every last bit of this into my dish. So with really full dishes like these, when I put them in the oven to cook them, they do start to ooze over, and I've learned my lesson many times. My smoke alarm goes off from it burning off in my oven. So I always put them on a baking dish. Okay, so this part's completely optional, and don't judge me for this. It's not like it already has enough butter. But I do put in little cubes of butter where it makes little pockets of melted butter in it when it cooks, and it's delicious. I just kind of spread these little cubes throughout the top of it. Okay, the mashed potatoes are done. They are so good. I can't wait to get into those on Thanksgiving. So that's a third dish down, ready to go. Okay, so the last and final dish I want to get done before we do dinner is just an appetizer, and it's pretty easy. It's gonna be a cheese ball, but it's gonna be a pumpkin shaped cheese ball. But I'm gonna switch up the recipe this year and try something different, because I felt like last year it needed a little bit more of some flavor to it. So I want to reuse the same recipe I was using. So for this recipe, you're of course gonna need cream cheese, and then I'm gonna add in Worcestershire sauce, which I added in last year, and then green onion. I'm also gonna put in oregano and parsley, and then also sharp cheddar cheese, which I did that last year as well. But to add a little bit more of a flavor to it, I thought I would try out using one of these packets. It's just the onion soup and dip mix, and I thought that would be a really good flavor with a cheese ball. So right now I'm gonna shred up my block of cheese. So I always use a block and shred it myself when recipes call for shredded cheese, because they don't have that additive in it to preserve the cheese, and so it's just a different texture. It tastes a lot better when you shred it yourself. So I'm gonna shred up about 2 cups of this, and then I'm gonna get everything into a bowl. And okay, so I shredded up my cheese. I just wanted about 2 cups, enough for the inside and as well as the outside of the cheese ball, or cheese pumpkin, I guess I should say. And now I'm just dicing up 2 green onions. Okay, so to the bowl, I'm just gonna add in 2 8-ounce boxes of cream cheese. These have been sitting out for a good while, so they should be pretty soft. Okay, so now to the cream cheese, I'm gonna add in my 2 green onions that I diced up. And then I'm gonna take about 1 cup, just eyeball it, of this shredded cheese. This is sharp shredded cheese. This is sharp cheddar cheese. And I'm gonna add that in. I'm gonna reserve a good amount on the side for, to roll into it, to roll the cheese ball into. And then I'm going to add in, I'm not really sure because I haven't done this before and I'm not really getting it from a recipe. Okay, we'll start with like half a packet or so. And then I'm gonna add in a little bit of oregano. Not too much. And then a little bit of parsley. I know this has a lot of sodium in it, I'm sure, yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna add in the salt. I'm just gonna skip that, maybe add a little bit after I mix it all up, but I added in some pepper, and then I'm gonna just do a few dashes of the Worcestershire sauce. Probably should do a mixer, but I don't really want to get it all out. So I'm just gonna use a rubber spatula. Okay, so I just laid out one layer of plastic wrap. I put some of the cheese, not all of it, that I have reserved on the side here. I put some of it onto the plastic wrap, and then I'm just gonna kind of form it into a ball a little bit, bring the cheese around. All right, hi guys, so today is Wednesday, it's the next day, and I have just a few items I want to get done today before I clean up the house and then set up my table for Thanksgiving tomorrow. So this morning I did get my dough ready, which is actually sitting behind me here. This is for my dinner rolls, and I do turkey-shaped dinner rolls, and I can't wait to share this with you. They're so cute. I've made them the last couple of years. I found it online on my Instagram from this one lady. Her Instagram is The Food Nanny, and she shared this a while ago, and I made them ever since, and they're so good and they're so cute. So this morning, all I did was I combined my yeast into some warm water. I let that sit off on the side and get all foamy and bubbly. And then in my mixer, I just mixed up my eggs, sugar, and oil first, and then I heated up some milk in my microwave, and then I mixed that in to the eggs, sugar, and oil mixture, and then I added in the yeast mixture once it started foaming up and getting all bubbly. And then I added in, the recipe says about 4 to 5 cups of flour. I just do the all-purpose flour, and I did actually just over 5 cups, because I wanted to get it to the point where you could stick your finger into the dough and nothing comes back on your finger and it's not super sticky. And then it was all done. Oh wait, I did add in some salt, just about 2 teaspoons of salt into it as well. And then I removed it from my mixer. I kept it in the bowl, and then I just covered it with plastic wrap on top, and it needs to sit for about 2 to 3 hours until it starts doubling up in size. So I'll show you really quick what it looks like right now. Okay, so here's the dough. It's been sitting for a while now. It's almost done. All right, so sorry if you hear the blower. My husband's outside in the backyard doing some yard work for tomorrow. So I'm gonna let this sit just a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna get started on my other item that I need to get done, which is my pumpkin harvest pie. I'm just gonna kind of show a little bit on how I go about doing this. I'm not sure how much I'll share because I just did a video of awesome pumpkin treats that I posted, and this pie is in that video, so I'll link it above for you. All right, so my pie is in the oven, the pumpkin pie portion. The chiffon mousse is setting in the fridge. So I'm going to move on to my rolls because the dough is ready. So it looks beautiful, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dump this out on a flour surface. I'm gonna divvy it off into 4 different sections, and then I'll show you kind of next what I do to form the turkey rolls. Also, before I forget, I'm using these muffin tins to make these turkey rolls. So I just spray it really well with some cooking spray, like a ton, because you want to make sure these pop out. I have 2 of these, and then I'll kind of decide if I need any more. I'm just not sure exactly how many I'm going to be making exactly. So we'll figure this out. On my surface here, I'm going to put down some flour. And then I'm just gonna dump my dough out onto it. Okay, so I'm gonna section this off into, we'll probably do her recipe, but it's different, I think, a little bit than the one I did. It said 4 sections. Yeah, I think we'll do 4 sections. So I'm just gonna give these off into 4 sections. And then I'm gonna take just one. I have my rolling pin here, and I'm going to roll it out kind of into a square rectangle-ish shape. Okay, so now that that's all rolled out, I'm gonna take a pizza roller cutter, and it's kind of like you're cutting a pizza. You're gonna cut into triangle shapes. Gonna do one down the middle, one down the other side, one across, and also one over here. So you get these little triangle shapes. Okay, so with the muffin tin, you're gonna take the triangle shape and you're gonna just lay it down in there. So you can kind of see your turkey already forming. So you would lay all these all into the muffin tin, and then at the end, once they're all in here, I'll show you the next step. And if your triangle isn't long enough to hang over, you definitely want to try to make it so the tip of it and then the end of it is hanging over, because you'll see why on my next step. So you can always kind of pull it and stretch it a little bit like this. Okay, so I got all my pans done. I was able to actually get 2 of my large pans here. And look how cute they already look. And then 1 of my smaller ones. So, okay, so those are all done. So now next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just use my kitchen scissors, and I'm gonna cut little feathers on the edges of these turkey rolls. So I usually cut about 4-ish, maybe 3, depending on how wide it is. And you're just gonna do little cuts like this, and then you're gonna take a toothpick and you're just gonna poke a little eye through. You could do 2 if you want, you could do 1, but these are all gonna be unique and different, and they're just adorable. Everybody always loves them when I make them. One of the years I did these, I actually found at my local grocery store turkey-shaped butter. And I thought, why not? I had turkey-shaped rolls, turkey-shaped butter, and everybody loved it. I tried to find that butter again this year at our store, and they were already all sold out of it like last week. They said they sold out of it like a month ago, which is crazy. But that's okay, these rolls are gonna be great. I also try not to hang them over each other, so they're not really touching when they're baking. But I'm just gonna get these all cut up. They don't have to be completely perfect because they taste great and they're gonna be cute no matter what. All right, so I got all my feathers cut. I got my little eyes on these guys. So now these need to rest and kind of double in size before I can bake them. So I'm just taking a clean kitchen towel and I'm just gonna lightly drape them over the top of these and let these sit for about 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, so now that my turkey rolls are here behind me, doubling in size, they have just a little bit longer before I can get them in the oven. My pie is done and it's cooling right here. I want to get the last thing that I can prep in advance done, and that is some spinach artichoke dip. This stuff is so good and addicting, and it's awesome you can make it in advance. It's a perfect appetizer for any type of get-together, and I made it for Thanksgiving last year and everybody devoured it. I just served it with some tortilla chips and it's delicious and so easy. So I'm gonna show you everything right now. I'm gonna put it all together. I'm just gonna put it in a baking dish and put that in the fridge, and then tomorrow it's gonna bake in the oven with some mozzarella cheese on top. Okay, so I just chopped up whole artichoke hearts here. It was a 14-ounce jar. I drained it, chopped it up, and then I have softened cream cheese here, and then I'm gonna add in some mayonnaise, and then I have basil, garlic powder, onion powder, and some minced garlic. And then I'm gonna put in some shredded Parmesan cheese, and then it's supposed to have Romano cheese in it, but I don't have that. I just have a blend here of Italian cheeses I'm gonna throw into it. And then with the spinach, when I do this, I'm gonna drain it and squeeze out as much of the water as possible because it holds a lot of moisture in it before I add that in here, and it needs to defrost completely because this is the frozen spinach. So the turkey rolls are done. They've been resting for about 15 minutes. They've pretty much poofed up completely, and so they're ready to go into the oven. I have my oven on at almost 350. And so these are gonna bake for 10 or so minutes, I believe, until they're golden brown. You just wanna keep an eye on them so they don't burn on the edges. So I'm just gonna mix up all of this before I add in my spinach. Just kind of gently mix it up. Okay, so that's all mixed up. I'm just gonna put this into my dish. So I just use one of my smaller dishes because I put this on a very large platter dish, and then I put the chips all around it when I put it out on Thanksgiving. So I'm just gonna put this in here. And then on top, I'm just gonna do a mixture of some mozzarella cheese and some of my Italian cheese blend. All right, so the artichoke spinach dip is done. I'm just gonna get this covered and put it into my fridge out in my garage with everything else. So that's another dish down and ready for tomorrow. So my turkey rolls are done. They are perfect looking. I'm gonna let those cool, and then I'm also gonna brush some butter on these. All right, so the pumpkin harvest pie is all done. I'm gonna get this into the container and get this into my fridge in the garage with everything else. So another dish down. So the turkey rolls are all done. They turned out so good and they're delicious. I can't wait to get into these tomorrow. So I'm just gonna let them cool completely, and then I'm just gonna put them into a large Ziploc bag on my counter. And then tomorrow I'm gonna warm them up in the microwave just before we have dinner. So just to give you a little up close. So see how cute. Always a huge hit on Thanksgiving. So I'm all done with everything. Now I just need to get the house cleaned up, and then I'm gonna set my table tonight as well. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you for coming along with me on my first video, going through everything I do to prep for Thanksgiving Day. If there was anything I could recommend to anybody starting out and doing their first Thanksgiving or Christmas, really any type of holiday get together, is prep everything that you can in advance and get things off that list before the day of the event, and you'll be able to enjoy your time with your guests and not be in the kitchen slaving away. So I got everything into my garage fridge, and then the day of, I'm just gonna kind of have a little time schedule when I need to get things into the oven. But one thing I do make sure to do is pull all of the sides out. Then I let them sit on my counter and come down to somewhat room temperature so they're not so cold going into the oven. So that's another thing I recommend doing before putting everything in your oven, because then it will just take way too long to bake everything in your oven if they're super cold. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have a wonderful time with your friends and family. So happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.